Hey everybody, welcome to my channel, Numbers with Nora. This is a math tutoring channel that helps you with all your math questions, needs, and answers. For this video, I'm going to be doing geometry. We are going to be doing geometry chapter 4, and this is going to be 4.5, prove triangles congruent by angle, side, angle, and angle, angle, side. For this lesson, I'm using Larson Geometry book. I will have the link for this book in the description, and also I'll have the link for the answers for this book in the description. But if you're using another geometry book, it should be very easy to follow along. All right. This is not a practice video. I'll do a practice video later for this one, but this is just understanding these two types of postulates. So let's go ahead and start. So the objective of this lesson is you will use more methods to prove congruency, because before in the other videos, we sat there and used side, side, side. We use side, angle, side. At the end of this video, I'll show you a whole chart of like what we can use, all the postulates that we have gone through to prove that triangles are congruent. Okay. For this one, we're going to focus on angle, side, angle, ASA. All right. For this one, basically what we're looking at is if I'm giving two corresponding angles and the side in between those two corresponding angles is congruent, then we can sit there and say the two triangles are congruent by angle, side, angle, right? And then for angle, angle, side, we can sit there and say the same thing, except our two angles right here, angle, angle, side, side, angle, angle. Just make sure your angles are just one after another. They're not corresponding. They are one after another, right? So it goes angle, angle, side. Okay. So let's kind of see these in actions. These ones are more kind of like proofy, but the more you get practice with proofs, the better. All right, let's do this one really quick. Can the triangles be proven congruent with the information given in the diagram? If so, state the postulates or the theorem you would use. So let's look at A. If I look at A, I can sit there and identify these two angles as vertical angles. Vertical angles are congruent, all right? So now I have angle and then another consecutive angle. That's the word I was trying to find. Two consecutive angles, back-to-back angles, and then a side. So I can sit there and say that these two triangles are, a matter of fact, congruent because of angle, angle, side postulate. Okay. And so now let's look at B. For this one, I have all congruent angles that are just given. That's not enough information. This is not a postulate. We do not have a postulate called AAA, angle, 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 right? So this one can't do, not enough information. I'll just put N, E, F, not enough. Or any I, not enough information. Okay, that's not a postulate that we use, not AAA. And now let's look at C. What I can notice from these two triangles, I can use the reflexive property right here, because when I break these apart, these two share a side. So that means they're congruent. That's a reflexive property. So by the reflexive property, I can sit there and go angle, this is a side, and then another angle, right? So I can say this is congruent by angle, side, angle postulate. Okay. There you go. Cool. Now let's hop down into these proofs. I know in this chapter, they sat there and tried to introduce you to flow proofs, but not many classrooms that I see use flow proofs. If you do want to sit there and see what a flow proof looks like, put something down in the comment, and I have no problem doing a video on flow proofs, but I don't see many classrooms do flow proofs for examples or to use on test. Okay, so this one, we're just going to use the one where we write a statement and a reason, okay, a table proof. Okay. So that's usually how the teachers like you to do it in this level of math. All right. So for the first thing, they gave us that angle A and D are congruent. See that? Angle C and F are congruent. We see that. And they give us that BC is congruent to EF. Nice. They want us to prove that these two triangles are congruent. All right. So when we sit there and write our table proof, you just sit there and write down everything here, right there, as you're given. Always sit there and state your given. I just sit there and write it all down in the get-go for step 1. Okay. Step 2. Another thing I can notice, this is another theorem that was kind of way back, but I can also sit there and say that angle B is congruent to angle E, okay? I'm stating that these ones are congruent. And I could say that because I'm going to sit there and say that's congruent by the 3 angles theorem, okay? 3 angles theorem is basically stating that if 2 corresponding angles are congruent between 2 triangles, then the third ones have to be congruent, okay? You can go ahead and look that one up. I believe one of my past geometry videos have that theorem kind of more explained. So that's by the 3 angles theorem, all right? And since all those are good, I can sit there and say that triangle ABC congruent to triangle DEF and this is by our postulates. Angle, side, angle. This one was a really easy one. I guess they just wanted you to state that 3 angles theorem. So that one's kind of like a throwback. And that's the end of that proof. For number 2. Let's look at number 3. We're not going to write a flow proof. We're just going to write a table proof. All right, where we write our statements and then our reasons. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and see what they want us to prove and what's given. So in the diagram, CE is perpendicular to BD, all right? CE, BD, see it? So that means these create a 90-degree angle. And they have angle AC or angle CAB congruent to CAD. Let's mark that up. CAB congruent to CAD, CAD. Okay, these angles are congruent. Nice to know. Write a table proof. We're going to do table proof to show that triangle ABE congruent to triangle ADE. All right, not that bad. So again, for our first step, we're just going to sit there and write our given. Right. Just for sake of time, I'm not going to sit there and write all that given, but you'll just sit there and rewrite all of this under your step 1 for your statement right here. 2, what else can we see? I can also sit there and see by linear pair postulate. I see it. All right. We can also state that angle BAE, I'll show you in just a second. Let me write it down. Angle BAE and angle CAB they're supplementary. Supplementary means when I add them together, they will equal to 180. I'll just put sup. And then I also know that angle DAE, oops, sorry, just a second. DAE angle DAE and angle CAD. Sorry, it's horrible. See, supplementary as well. And let me write this down and I'll show you that in a second. Again, it's another throwback. It's another theorem that's in one of my past videos. Look it up if you have to. And this is going to be by the those linear pairs. They're coming back. Linear pair. Oh, that's too hideous of a P. Sorry, guys. Let's do it like this. Linear pair postulate. Linear pair. Sorry about that. Pair postulate. My little internet pin is messing up. All right, so let's explain this. So I have BAE right here, and I'm saying and CAD. So these two right here that I just bubbled in, when I add them together, they're going to equal 180 degrees, okay? Because they're linear pairs. Remember, the definition of the linear pair are two angles that are adjacent from each other and then lie on a perpendicular line, okay? Or a straight line, right? So if I have a straight line, which this AC is a straight line, and I cut it like this and I have two adjacent angles, when I add these together, they're going to be supplementary. They're going to equal to 180. So I have that going on here. That's why I can sit there and use this linear pair postulate, right? If you forgot about this postulate or you forgot about linear pairs, go back into my old videos and look it up because I do prove that theorem, I believe. Okay. So then the third thing we're going to do and state is that angle BAE is congruent to angle DAE. To angle DAE. Okay. And this is going to be by the congruent supplement theorem. Okay. Two supplement angles are congruent. Congruent. Sorry, my pen is acting up, guys. Congruent. And I'm just going to put theorem. Okay. And that's another theorem that I go through. Okay. Theorem. Eeks. All right. And then our last step, we can sit there and call reflexive again. Our AE. Congruent to EA. That's by the reflexive property. Reflexive property. Okay. And then finally, we can sit there and say, because we show that these are congruent, we show that these are congruent. Okay. I know we said BAE, BA. No, we showed that these are congruent. My apologies. These are congruent. That's what we showed. So that gives me angle, side, angle. Okay. So we can say that triangle ABE congruent to triangle ADE. And this is by Angle, side angle, postulate. I might sit there and try to do a whole video where I have just proofs. Let me know if you guys want to do that, because I need to use my other pen when I'm writing like this, because this one is just good for math. All right, so that's the end of that proof, right? That was a longer one. Not that bad. All right, so now let's look at 4. This is more like a standardized test one. For this one, the fire towers, the forestry service uses fire tower out or lookouts to watch for forest fires. When the lookouts spot a fire, they measure the angle of their view and radio a dispatcher. The dispatcher then uses the angles to locate the fire. How many lookouts are needed to locate a fire? So they want us to use postulates to sit there and see how many lookouts are needed to locate a fire. So we have a fire right here. They do give us some info. They sit there and tell us that the measures of the 2 angles. Okay, they said they have these. And then we have an included side, as they sat there and told us. So of course, we could sit there and use the postulate angle, side angle. So the answer is we would only need 2 lookouts, because this would be good enough to sit there and complete my triangle. So the answer would be B. Okay. Because we only need 2 lookouts. We don't need this lookout, because we're able to sit there and see what's going on with the fire with just those 2 angles. And that's just all information they gave us. All right, so this is very, very important. This you should have in your notes. Go ahead and pause the video, take a screenshot, write it down. But we have gone through all the triangle congruence postulates and theorems with SAS, SAS, HL, hypotenuse leg, ASA, and then AAS. With all these, you should be able to prove that any 2 triangles are congruent or not. Okay. This is good to come in handy in your notebook, because if you forget what's a postulate and what's not, you can just flip through your notebook and sit there and see these theorems, okay, and postulates. Cool. All right, thanks for watching, guys. And if you have any homework questions or like further tutoring, please subscribe or leave a message in the comments section. I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible and show you all step-by-step work. Thanks, guys.